I am so excited to be talking to Brandon Youst, Urban Farm Academy. What's an urban farm?
Well, urban farm is any spot where you want to grow within city limits or just outside the city, and it could be anything from tomatoes, leafy greens, eggplants, whatever you want to do.
What's like the weirdest place in New York City you've seen someone create an urban farm?
Oh, well, there's an amazing farm on top of the ice building, which is the Culinary Institute called Farm One. And so what they do is all of the chefs that they train get to use produce from the farm right above them.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
so local is basically the rooftop where they
absolutely.
cook.
Yeah.
So local to table is very makes a lot of sense for them.
Yep. Yep.
So before we get into the specifics, like what got you into this? What were you doing beforehand?
So I used to be in corporate finance, and like a lot of other people, it's a job. You go through college and you're kind of just going along doing what you're told. And I think that mid 20s, a lot of people start to find themselves and they realize I don't want to spend another 5 years here. So it was just time for me to figure something else out.
Well, what were you doing in corporate finance?
Basically, just back end reconciliations, things like that.
What
It's
does
like
that mean?
Wall Street's back office.
So, like, what's a reconciliation? Like, if someone makes a trade, you have to, but it's with another bank, you
Yes.
have to call the other bank and make sure they got the
There's
shares. And
like book value and market value, and you're just making sure everything looks right. No major accounting is off because, computers are great, but they're not perfect.
so I know some people who have been in that industry. It's a super boring, right? But at the same time, it's one of those things where there's always going to be humans involved because they just want to have that extra human touch. And your salary does go up every year forever.
Kinda.
And they can't really get rid of you after a certain point. Like you're always going to have a job opportunity. So you did take a risk. Like what kind of got you your ears kind of perked up to look into to jump making the jump into entrepreneurship?
It was really podcasts. I mean, you hear information that you can't unhear. I give a big credit to Joe Rogan, who was like a father figure to me and just said things that I needed to hear to give me the confidence that I might have skills that I can take elsewhere.
That's really great. What did Joe say? What was the do you remember which
It was
podcast in specific? Or
just the whole thing about taking control of your life. Like, I was just doing what I was kind of told. Like, I'm not passionate about finance. In fact, I hate numbers. I was technically the worst person in that building. I'm very confident of that. But I got promoted, and that told me something. It said that I might have skills that I could apply elsewhere. So, knowing that I didn't want to be there in 5 years or 10 years, that would be not the life that I want. I knew I had to do something. And so, like,
I think that's the key. Like this has happened to me a couple times. I'm curious if this happened to you, where I'm doing well in an area or at a job, like you just said you were promoted, and or in school, and I look around me and I look at kind of people who are, let's say, 10 years ahead of me, and I ask myself, do I do I like them? B, do I want to be living that exact life for myself 10 years from now? Maybe I do, and then but some things I would tweak, and maybe I don't at all. And that tells me, you know what? I better make a decision, and the sooner the better
yeah.
because life's short.
You nailed it. I mean, there's my manager sat right across from me. It's like another 10 years, and I get to sit on that side of the short wall, and, that's no fun, and so, podcasts, all the exposure to the new books because you hear new books that they recommend, and it just opens up new worlds for you because none of that stuff is talked about in college or high school.
Right, like, what were some of the books?
Uh, Think and Grow Rich was
Okay.
one for me. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was really critical for me, and then Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek allowed me to think in a way that now I wasn't looking for a 4-hour work week, but those frameworks that you can apply to think efficiently and, start small and bootstrap it, that gave me a lot of frameworks I didn't have previously.
Yeah, because let's just touch on that a little, and then we'll get into the I really wanna learn about the Urban Farm Academy. With Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's not so much, I think, the specific advice they give, which, can go either way, and it's kind of being, positive thinking and some of these other techniques is hard to know when you're in the actual weeds, no pun intended, of business. Sometimes it's like that Mike Tyson quote, uh everyone has a plan until they're hit in the face, and entrepreneurship, you get hit in the face repeatedly.
Yep.
But I think, and the third book you mentioned, what was that
The
one? Oh, the
4-Hour
4 Hour
Workweek.
Week.
Yep.
I think that one's really good because all of these books, like you say, are a framework. They give you permission. They let you say, "Oh, you don't have to be born into a rich family. You don't even have to have like a brilliant idea. You just need to give yourself permission that you can think out of the box and good things will happen if you manage risk accordingly and build and build and build outside the box. Like the 4-hour work week, he's clearly not suggesting only work 4 hours. He's basically suggesting, work smart
Yeah.
rather than work 80 hours a week.
Yep.
Because if you take what you've been doing 80 hours a week and boil it down to 4 hours, that gives you another 40 hours to work on other endeavors and build a bigger business or pursue many more activities than just one.
Yeah.
He was killing himself working on just one activity when he realized he could delegate a lot and then start exploring other things. For instance, writing a book, and that's what ultimately made him the most amount of money rather
Yeah.
than his business.
And he
So
he speaks to the same things that, like you say, choose yourself. And it's allowing, giving yourself permission to choose yourself and saying, this is really just a game. Life is a game. And let's learn the rules that apply that we can work within. And what they did is present like a whole new board and saying, you can think of things this way. And it's just a whole new way to look at the world.
right, and I think it's very important because in the rules, I think it's a cliche or too broad to say everyone else is just following the rules, like, "Oh, college, grad school, work at an investment bank, work there forever, or work at your job, and you can't talk to your boss's boss, and then you can't start your own company while you're at blah, blah, blah." There's so many rules, and along the way, while you're discovering yourself, people are gonna say, "Can't, you can't do this," and the key to success is finding the right can't where you're gonna say, "No, you know what? I can," and you figure out the way to go around that can't. That's
Yeah.
ultimately where success is. So, with that said, how did you make that first, jump towards first of all, what is Urban Farm Academy? How did you make the jump towards it?
Well, the Urban Farm Academy, it's an exploration and learning platform that helps you find your place within food and agriculture. And
What's the problem in the way people were doing it? Like, why can't I just
I mean,
like, we're in New York City, 20 minutes away, there's a farm somewhere.
we're already, I mean, our food system is completely fragile. I mean, we're shipping things in from everywhere. And uh, how do you approach such massive problems? To me, we used to have farms everywhere, small farms all across the country, and we don't have that now because there's a perception that you can't make money farming. And what
Can
I
you make money for me?
I believe you can, and the way that I did it was I believe I have this framework that I call farm fusion, and by fusing agriculture and food, you can create things that people actually want and get the price that you want for the things that you grow. So, for example, I didn't want to quit my high-paying job in corporate finance and grow a $2 head of lettuce. I wanted to turn that into a $10 salad.
Yeah, like, let me ask you a question, like, these guys who sell stuff at farmers markets, are they making money? So that's a local farm that's driving in on Union Square on Wednesdays and Saturdays,
Yep.
and they're selling their bread or their lettuce or their fish or whatever.
They're making some money, sure, but I think there's a lot more opportunity for them to make more money because people aren't looking for ingredients anymore. They're looking for food. When you walk up to a market, you're probably looking for something prepared. You're not looking for the cilantro and the tomatoes and the onions to make your own salsa. And I think we just need to recalibrate what we can do with our own production. So, like I said, I could take that $2 head of lettuce that I never intended on growing and just selling as that. I was going to turn it into a salad right away. And I started with the food truck. If I can put a food truck on my property, I could take it from my greenhouse to the food truck, and then I could do whatever I want with it. And then,
Right, so you can drive the food truck around,
right,
stop outside
right.
a school, and sell pre-made, vegan salads to all the new vegan Gen Z students.
Yep, and
So
if I didn't like the food truck, I could sell it, and I still had my greenhouse, and I can figure something else out.
okay, when you say urban farms, are there farms being grown in the city
Yeah,
and
yeah,
in cities?
yeah. So my thing is,
Because like,
like,
there's rules, like, for instance, I can't grow a fire on my fire escape, for instance.
right, well, in a city like New York, space is, very expensive, and so you can't have, like, giant lettuce farms within the city. I mean, you can, and some people do it, but, man, it's real tight margins, and that's why I always go back to this thing. It doesn't even need to be in an urban environment. If you can take you don't have to grow that much, like 5, 6 things, turn it into something. Take that basil, turn it into a pesto, because now instead of selling a commodity, you're selling something a hyper local food product that people actually want.
And
They're
it's hyper local and it's made. So it's not like, well, like when they say at a restaurant, "Hey, we're local to table," it's still passing through the kitchen where the chef is doing his thing.
Yep.
But the chef in the restaurants wanna do their thing, but maybe someone at home doesn't.
But that's okay. It's really an all the above approach. We just want instead of, like, reaching for that 2% of people that come to farmers markets, if we wanna actually create change, we need to get and reach the mass markets. Like, I need to reach you. If you're not buying my stuff, I'm not doing my job as a business owner in reaching you in the way that you want to be met.
So how do you reach me?
So we do it through delivery service. So, I no longer do the food truck, but we've evolved it into a meal subscription service. So we grow it, we harvest it, we cook it, and then once a week, we come to your house after work and just deliver it, all in glass
Oh
jars.
my god, this is amazing. Like, this week, what could I have done?
Well, we put a new menu out every single week, Indian,
Like, this week,
like,
what could I get?
oh, I don't know the menu week to week. I'm not the one doing it, but we start with our farm. We say, "What's out there? What can we harvest this week?" And we put the menu based off of that. And our customers know they get a new menu every week, and they can pick and choose what they want. And then it's like the milkman thing. The milkman will come, switch out your glass. We do the same
And you
thing.
give me meals for the whole week or
Yep,
just
yep.
s
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
how much does that cost?
It's as low as $7.50 a meal.
And so, like, for a week, it's, like, about 51,
Yep,
$52.
yep.
Uh, let me ask you, how did you get customers initially?
Just being out with the food truck. I turned a 1976 Argosy Airstream into a food truck, which was pretty unique at the time, so it caught people's eye.
So the food truck, you didn't make the food on the truck, you would just pack it on the truck and
I would
sell.
make it on the truck. That was my commercial kitchen. I'm all about bootstrapping and starting small. I moved in with my mom and dad for a year and a half while I kind of figured this out, saved money, and built the food truck because I I didn't want to fail. I couldn't fail, and that inability to fail allowed me to think in a way where I can pivot in so many different directions.
I love the idea. There's something romantic about the idea of a food truck. Like, you ever see that movie Chef, of
Yeah,
course? With Jon
yeah,
Favreau.
yeah.
It's a beautiful movie, but it seems like, particularly if you're living with your parents, which, by the way, is hard. You can't recommend that to everyone. Like, how was your social life while you were living with your parents?
Non-existent, but that was okay because it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I was recreating my life. I had messed up by going down this path I didn't wanna go down for the last 10 years, so you have to be willing to put in the work. That was
But
nothing to me.
did you have a so my guess is you started growing a little mini farm
Mhm.
and then using those ingredients to, bring them to your food truck, and then in the food truck, you would make meals, you would drive around. Where would you drive around?
Well, I would just do events, but really that food truck just stayed on property. The whole supply chain was on my property.
And people would stop. Was your property close to, like, some
So when I said meet people where they wanna be met, they wanna be met in their homes. I would drive to them once a week, all of their meals, done, boom,
but
prepaid for.
how would people know?
Online, Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising.
So, like, you got so initially you got basically Facebook friends and
Mhm.
then people who you reached through Facebook,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Okay, I'll try this."
I live in a city with 30,000 people, so,
What city?
it's New Bern, North Carolina.
Okay.
S
So basically, you reached out to your friends there, and everyone was like, "Oh, Brandon's trying this thing.
Yep.
We'll buy meals for a couple weeks."
I was actually completely new to the area, so I built my food truck at my parents', moved to a completely different state, just got hit the ground running, built the greenhouse, did all these things, and I was ready to go. I just needed to do the work.
And then how has the business tell me, so that's the wheel,
Yep.
is that you want it seems like the problem you're trying to solve is people want local to table. They wanna know where their ingredients are coming from. They wanna know that they're eating healthy, but the traditional way was not working, or what? Tell me the
Well,
big
I
problem.
want a business model that anyone can do and can be replicated anywhere. So this framework, this farm fusion framework, can be applied to any kind of farm business where you're creating something that people actually want and meeting them where they want to be met. So we have another project where we're growing herbs for cocktails and putting flowers in them and doing infusions with those herbs to make specialty drinks because people like alcohol. We can't be idealistic and say, I'm growing heads of lettuce, I'm local, buy from me. It doesn't work like that. We're entrepreneurs too, and it's our job to meet them.
So so so, um again, if I'm wanting specialty drinks, I can go to the grocery store. I can
Mhm.
even go to Whole Foods and
Sure,
buy all the
sure,
ingredients.
sure.
What's better about what you I could even have Whole Foods deliver for me.
You will not match the flavor. When you're cutting something that was cut an hour ago or just last night, you're not matching the flavor.
Is that really true? So, like, the even Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, which is as good as you could probably get in terms of, a grocery store mimicking the local to table, it's just not as good
It's
as
not as good. No, no, because those things have been on trucks for weeks and then in the refrigerator. I mean, This is the perfect environment. You have the farm on the roof and you bring it down to the restaurant beneath it. Like there's a big difference and people are starting to realize that. And that creates so many business opportunities for people. Like there's a lot of opportunity to get involved in local food and agriculture.
So you mentioned you're not in the food truck side anymore. What how did you expand the business? How did you expand the concept of the business?
Right? So I mean, the food truck, it's a grind and
And it's not scalable.
no, it's not scalable. We grew so much where it was just me running it. I was doing everything by myself.
Was the food truck profitable?
Uh I got killed doing events and stuff because I didn't know what I was doing. So just like anything else, a learning process. But that subscription, that meal subscription, that's where it's at because you're getting paid upfront and then you're harvesting
And
and
the food
purchasing.
truck would basically deliver? Would it still do stuff on its own,
Yeah,
as a food
yeah,
truck? But
once in a while. But we really just evolved into a meal subscription service. So now I have two other farmers that live next to me. They have the same passions as me. They liked growing, they liked cooking, and now they're doing everything. So
and you taught them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, okay, tell me about the next phase, generation 2 of the business.
Right, so, this was the farm fusion approach that now I say, "I'm handing this over to you, and I want you to run this, and what I'm gonna do is document you running this business and creating the life that you wanted."
So by the way, I think this is the valuable lesson, which is that whatever you get good at the meta version of it, like
Yep,
how would you teach others,
yep,
and that becomes a scalable business.
yeah,
Like, the more meta you get where there's still a customer, the more scalable it is.
eh
So if I could teach someone now to do those 2 steps, like find something you like, do it, then teach it, and then I will teach you how to turn that into a
right,
business, even that's,
right.
that's a multi-thousand-dollar product.
My goal is to have an actual dent in the food system, not just to do something cute in my little town, and the only way that I can do that is if I can show people what we're doing nationally. So, they're locally, they're running this service, they're doing a great job, they're amazing people, but now it's my job to show people what this business model looks like, and that's basically what the Urban Farm Academy is.
So what's the product of the Urban Farm Academy?
So, I started multiple businesses and, I also sell to small farmers, and through those connections, I met other people doing stuff similar to what I was doing, and so I just started getting all these people in sort of a collaboration saying, "Do you wanna start this with me? Like, do you want to show people what you're doing? We'll come to you, we'll film it, we'll turn it into a course." And for someone like me who was sitting in an office, didn't wanna do that anymore, but didn't know like, that's a huge gap to go from where you are to, like, this future you can barely imagine and seems so risky and fraught with all kinds of like I barely grew anything. I was just cooking for myself. I have no professional experience in any of this, but I still did it. And I did it through, self-education. And that's kind of the new future of learning. So we understand where the gaps are and what we needed to know to start these businesses. And we're providing that through the Urban Farm Academy because we're the business owners on the front lines actually doing these things. We're not professors with outdated information. We're doing it. We're out there. We're learning in real time. And we're saying we want you to take control of your life just like we did, and go do your version. Like you don't have to do everything I'm doing. Go do your version.
So, like, I could potentially see your, see your business, and I could say, "Oh, I wanna be a customer of this because I want to grow my own urban farm, start my own food truck, and handle events and deliver to restaurants in my neck of the woods." But let me ask you again, like, w is that so what you're doing, selling them the information how to do this,
Mhm.
that's profitable because it's digital, it's scalable,
Yep.
you don't have to, you don't have you have 100% margins on the, uh, digital product,
Yep.
but are they creating profitable businesses, the people who are following your advice? Because that's why I asked, like, was your food truck profitable?
Yep. So, I mean, the whole goal is to set up frameworks. Like, we're not the type of people that tell you, "Hey, we're gonna get you a 6 or 7-figure business." We're gonna say, what's your background? What are you interested in? What are your goals? And how do we put that into the frameworks that have worked for us to help you develop your own concept?" So, this isn't like a franchise model. This is saying and that's what Farm Fusion is basically saying, like, combine your interests with food and agriculture and create a product that's unique to you and unique to the market because that allows for unlimited possibility.
So, what are they buying from you? What is the customer buying from
So
you?
we make kombucha, pesto, ice pops, salads, soups, stews. Uh, again, we do breakfast, lunch, and dinners. So
But that's what the people who are creating their own urban farms, what are
well,
they
so an urban farm, and my approach is a little bit different because like you can do an urban farm and you can sell specialty herbs. Like if I were starting an urban farm in New York City, what I would do is grow flowers. for, restaurants and bars because you can get like 75 cents for a little flour, and you can do that in a real small space. Um, but another approach, and that's fine, and that perfectly works, but, flour isn't really all that useful to actually solving the problem of making food local again. So I'm always looking to make something that people actually want. Like, you can have all of your salads for the week or all of your soups through the week for the things that we're doing. So urban farm in this sense is you don't need a lot of space. You don't need to grow so much because you're turning it into something. And with a small client base, like no corporation can really like do that. This is an opportunity for entrepreneurs like everywhere to run a small business that you can have your client base creating something that you enjoy.
So again, I'm trying to just understand. So when you say what people are buying you and you mentioned this list of food products,
Mhm,
are you delivering
mhm.
food to urban farms or seeds
No,
or
no, no. So urban farms are just what we're saying is this is what you can do with an urban farm. Get yourself a commercial kitchen, combine that with an urban farm, and you can do so much more.
so like if I'm in New York City, let's just take me as an example. I live in an apartment building I rent. Uh how can what can if I'm a customer of yours, what do you give me? What do you educate me on?
Well, so you can sign up. So if you're in my area and you sign up for my service, you're saying you can come to our farm, you can visit, you can see what we grow, and then you can come visit our kitchen and see where we cook it. And you can see the whole supply chain of what you're eating and where your food comes from. And that's very possible in an urban environment because if it's right there, anyone can go visit it. But this is possible like really anywhere. My area is not super urban. Like it's uh it's barbecue country down there. It's the South. And we still found our people. Like, we still found a good business there, and there's a whole lot more support for or a lot more people to serve in bigger cities, so I
Right.
feel
So what I go to Urban Farm Academy, what do I specifically sign up for? Like what do I see? What do I sign up for?
so my course is called Farm Fusion, and that's basically applying that framework of, combining your past interests with food and agriculture to create a business that's unique to you. So, this isn't saying that you have to do it this way. We want you to do it your way. Like, everyone brings a uniqueness to the table, and by that happening, all kinds of products can be created that we haven't even thought of yet.
Like what would be an example? Like you can use me as an example, like
Yep.
what could happen to me, or do you have a case study?
So let's just talk about kombucha.
Mm.
Kombucha is a very popular product, and what you can do is you can grow the tea to make the kombucha, but then you can grow the raspberries to make a raspberry flavored kombucha, and that's all you have to do. You can create a business with a thriving market just around that singular thing.
And so you're telling me I can do that. So let's say, okay, let's say I get space on my rooftop. I can now grow the tea, the raspberries. I make the raspberry flavored kombucha. Now what do I do?
So it depends what your sales outlet wants to be, and for me, it was a big part of lifestyle design. I didn't want to be out there having to like run a store. We ran a cafe for a little while. It sucked.
So let's say I want to sell my raspberry kombucha, and let's say I have some other kinds
Yep.
to local cafes.
Yep.
What do I do?
Well, you just go visit them, talk to the owners and saying, "I'd like to have this in your store," and start it's just, business 101 there, getting out there, hustling and selling your product.
Do you teach people how to do that as well?
Yeah, of course.
So
Yep.
so so from beginning to end, so reach out to you and you say your company somehow says, "Well, there's 38 different categories.
Mhm.
You can build an urban farm around. You don't have to be big, you could be small."
Yep.
And I click on kombucha, I can click on raspberry. Now you're gonna teach me how to build an urban farm, making, kombucha tea with different fruits. And then you also teach me how to sell to clients or maybe
Yep.
how to build my own subscription
Yep.
audience.
So we have a very wholesome approach to the courses that we offer. So, Farm Fusion is the framework. And then we have a course called MAP where you're just starting with your past interest and an idea, and we help you refine that idea. Like, who do you actually want to sell to? Do you want to sell to top chefs? Do you want to sell to a small wealthy group of people? Like, who's your actual client base and who are you trying to serve? And then we help you start your launch, do the promotion. We usually recommend people do it through local influencers to help get your name out there fast. Like,
How would I get a local influencer?
usually gym owners, real estate agents are super connected. I joined the Chamber of Commerce, just to start knowing people. That was a big benefit to me. So, like, I moved to a completely new state. I didn't know anybody, so, I needed to find the people that knew people.
And in your among your customers, do you have any case studies that they're now they've got their urban farm, they've got, like, a profitable business going?
Well, we just launched this academy, so we're just kind of putting this out there, starting to share our ideas.
How do you teach things with videos? Do you teach
Mhm.
things with courses? 'Cause I could also see you doing a video, how to make a profitable food truck, like, that would be
That's part of the
yeah.
course. I mean, it's really dependent on the instructor, what how they wanna teach and get it across. We're completely adaptable in that way. So, my course was just a lot of writing and video component because for me, it's like a lot of stuff in your head that you have to work out. So, read a bit, go for a walk, write things down, come back to it when you're ready.
What would you say are the top 10 tips if I wanna in order, if I wanna and I know this is a big ask,
Mhm.
if I wanna, um, ha have a profitable urban farm business. I wanna quit my job and start a profitable urban farm business.
Yeah, well, it's always not best to just quit your job first. You gotta try it out.
Yeah, like, so eventually I wanna quit my
Yeah,
job,
yeah,
but I'm
but
gonna
like
try it
but
out.
but like go do first. That's
Mhm.
the biggest thing because
Yes.
we all kinda have these fantasies of our these farm dreams, right? And it's so beautiful in this, but it's still hard work. Like I'm living the dream, don't get me wrong, but it's still hard work. So I would say if you don't actually find yourself already doing it, you might not actually like it. So go do it, start small, and just be prepared to pivot because I pivoted 1,000 times to get to the point where I'm at. And the Tim Ferriss model really helped me understand that that was going to be, uh, you know, required. And then just finding good mentors, finding people like the people already doing similar things. So I reached out to a lot of people doing food, but they didn't know much about agriculture. I knew about agriculture.
You know what you should do is, you should start a Facebook group about urban farming that you charge people access to, because then they can share notes and
Well, there's Facebook groups in farming for everything, and that's actually probably the biggest thing that helps people because you have people all across the country having the same problems, and we just ask each other, "Hey," and it's like instant information. Now, not all of it's good, and that's why it is helpful to pay for a course from people who are vetted and they know what they're talking about, because, a Facebook group, it's you can get anybody.
so I'm learning from your course, basically, how do I find what I'm passionate about farming? How do I get the ingredients? How do I cook some basic recipes? How do I reach out to influencers? How do I, make a do I is it how do I make a commercial kitchen, like all the
Mhm. Yep,
regulations
yep,
and
all
stuff like
those
that?
things. Yep,
How do I handle events? Does it cover that? Like,
yep,
how can I bulk make stuff,
yeah.
for 100 people? Is that possible?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We wanna show you what's possible through what we're doing. So, because the biggest part is being able to envision it for yourself. If you can envision it for yourself, well, then you know what the next steps are. And that's where we're like, if you have questions, like, we're here, we wanna answer. We want these small farms and these types of businesses to proliferate everywhere.
And, uh so you're teaching like, what's okay, so again, the 10
Yep.
tips, so I'm gonna pivot a lot, I'm gonna try different things,
And
but now
so
I've got my urban farm, I'm making kombucha, got some raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. What's next?
well, a great way to start small, and it recommendation is start small, and we can do that from a 2 by 4 footprint. Like, in that little corner, we could put a vertical grow rack, and you can grow microgreens, herbs, whatever, just to start growing, learn that, take it to your first restaurant. Have 1 restaurant for 6 months if you want, while you kind of figure everything out because you wanna do things in a way where you're gonna enjoy it and not burn out.
And they'll go along with it, they don't need to
Sure.
buy from a mass food
No, no, no,
producer?
and that's if you do something specialty, they're not gonna need it in mass, like don't offer them lettuce
Mhm,
because you can't scale that up here.
right,
Like, offer them an edible flower that they need for a particular drink. Maybe recommend what drink that would be.
mm. And then, okay, what's the next?
Okay, so connecting with others in your industry, and that's what so the Urban Farm Academy really is saying, "You're here, but now you need marketing. So, know your marketing approach." So, develop, like, a whole, picture for who you wanna serve, what you wanna do, and how you're gonna market that, and, it's really just about getting out there and then doing it because you can plan so much, but you've got to get out there day one because you're not going to know what small adjustments you need to make. So just getting out there is really important.
Right, talking to multiple customers or,
Yeah.
uh, what do you think is the potential of one of your customers? Like, how big could an urban farm business be, let's say, in any major city?
I wouldn't talk about it in terms of big because that's not really what we're going for. It's creating something unique that has value to people. And kombucha is kind of a good example of that. It's a kind of a new thing, a trendy thing, but it's healthy for you. It's easy to make, and it's pretty cheap to get started, you know what I mean? So,
Let's say I have
it
so many restaurants, it goes beyond my little, grow farm in the corner.
yeah. Well, look, you can always scale up, but part of the what we talk about in our map course is what are your end goals? Like, where are you actually trying? What are you moving towards? Like, I wouldn't want a big farm. That's not my goals. I
Yeah.
like my small farm. I like being able to walk around, just have my chickens, and kind of keeping the pressure off of me because the benefit of not selling mass quantities of anything is they don't all have to be perfect.
And so this is almost like you're helping people create lifestyle businesses. If you
Yes.
want the lifestyle you want, eventually you'll morph away from the 9 to 5 job you have. You're
Yes.
able to do this, do what you love, and there's various ways to expand, but at the very least, you'll be able to work for yourself.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like none of us are trying to be multimillionaires doing this. That's not the point. We're trying to have a life that we enjoy. And those daydreams that you have of having your own place with the chickens running around and the greenhouse in the back, like we have that. That's I was sitting in an office and now I have all that and I created that for myself. And I know what I would have wanted to learn from in my position back then. And so that's what we're offering because it is possible. And people like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the Tim Ferriss book, they gave me permission to think that way. Like no one told me it was okay to have that kind of control of my life. And by having the time, by taking your time, starting small, having a job, you take the pressure off and you say, if I got to recreate my life, what would it look like? And I'm only like 4 years into this thing.
And Brandon, how can people find you? I'm sure a lot of people would be interested.
So you can go to urbanfarmacademy.com, check us out there. There's multiple courses. We're launching it this week as part of Ag Tech Week, and so it's business minded right now, but there's going to be things for career development, workforce development. We're doing things with STEM and aquaponics. We're going to tackle the issue of food deserts the best way that we can by bringing people together around the country and talking about this issue. So, it's an academy, there's a lot going on, and I just know my experience and my approach, and that's the farm fusion thing, but there's something out there for everybody.
All right, thanks so much, Brandon.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks.
coming on.